My name is Janae Stracke, and this is On Air with Heritage Action, a podcast built for conservatives. Twice a week, we break down in 5-ish minutes or less how you can get involved today in the fight for conservative values. We're going to dive a little deeper today into the $40 billion Ukraine spending bill that President Biden signed into law. If you recall, the Ukraine aid bill was written in a secret backroom deal between congressional leadership. Then Speaker Pelosi created an artificial deadline and voted on the bill less than 24 hours after bill text was released. Rank and file members of Congress were cut out of the process completely. They were barely able to read the bill, let alone analyze, debate, or amend it. And if the American people's elected representatives were cut out of the process, then we, the American people, were cut out of the process. And that's truly a shame, because the American people have questions, and we were deprived of a chance to get needed answers. Congressional leaders avoided debate in order to avoid accountability and the need to clearly articulate Washington's strategy in Ukraine. Americans are still waiting to hear clearly stated objectives, strategies, goals from President Biden and Congress as it relates to the conflict in Ukraine. And the American people have a right to answers. After all, it was their $40 billion that Congress and Biden just spent. So let's take a look at just a few of the key questions President Biden and Congress have not answered. For starters, what type of aid should we be funding in Ukraine? Heritage Action could support a bill that solely funds Ukraine's self-defense efforts, but only around half of the $40 billion will go to Ukraine's defenses. Roughly 9 of the $40 billion is set aside to fund Ukrainian government officials' salaries and pensions. American taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook to fund a foreign bureaucracy when we cannot even fund our own. And for how long are we willing to fund Ukraine? The money in this current law will run out in September. So what happens after that? The final spending amount of our aid could eventually be far north of $100 billion if the American taxpayer is asked to spend billions more in September and every 3 months thereafter. And what does victory for Ukraine look like? And what will it cost to achieve the desired outcome? Our leaders are tiptoeing into another never-ending war. If victory means Ukraine takes back all of its lost territory, will America keep spending billions of dollars for years and years to achieve that goal? Maybe our leaders should be focused on getting the two parties to the negotiating table to hammer out a deal to stop the violence. Americans have no idea what the long-term strategy is because we haven't been told. Instead, we're just aimlessly throwing money around with no strategic goal in sight. Here's another question. What's the appropriate level of funding that our European allies should shoulder? To date, America has spent more than twice the amount than all of the European countries combined have spent. That seems unfair to the American taxpayer, especially considering we're an ocean away from the conflict. Congress missed an opportunity here to leverage our aid to get greater contributions from our European allies for a fellow European country engaged in a European war. And what's America's responsibility to take in Ukrainian refugees? The $40 billion package would allow the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Homeland Security to parole Ukrainian refugees into the United States, while also providing them nearly $1 billion in benefits. Not only is this an abuse of the humanitarian parole system, but it is not in the best interest of the Ukrainian refugees themselves. It doesn't make sense for Ukrainian refugees to travel halfway around the world instead of taking temporary refuge in a neighboring country. Plus, the EU offers very generous residency and social welfare benefits to refugees. Those are just a few of the many questions left unanswered by Biden and Congress. The American people want to see a peaceful and victorious Ukraine. They're simply concerned because their leaders have not clearly articulated a goal or a plan to achieve them. And they're rightly skeptical of Congress's current approach to just throw money at a problem. The American people have seen how poorly that strategy has served our nation on a whole range of domestic issues. If Ukraine is a strategic interest, then surely now is the time to do better. Some have criticized Heritage Action's position on this Ukraine aid bill, including many of our friends on the right. Many have falsely characterized our position. The truth is, we're open to debate. We welcome it. And we think it's something Congress should do before spending billions more. Enough is enough. Americans deserve answers. That's it for another episode of On Air with Heritage Action. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard in today's episode, please click the follow button. If you want to receive a text message each time a new episode airs, text podcast to 51776 and you'll never miss an episode. That's podcast to 51776. Hi, it's me again, and we need your help. If you like the insights and activist resources we are providing, please take 1 minute and help us spread the word. Share this episode with friends and family on social media, email, or text. We need everyone's help in the fight to hold Washington accountable. And don't forget, you are also able to subscribe and listen to episodes on your smartphone. Just open up your favorite podcast app and search for On Air with Heritage Action. Click subscribe and download episodes so you can take them with you on the go. It's the best way to make sure you never miss a thing. Thanks.